Every year, millions celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Cities turn green, parades fill the streets, beer flows in every pub. But the man behind this celebration lived a very different life. At 16, he was kidnapped by pirates and sold into slavery. His name was St. Patrick. Patrick wasn't born in Ireland. He grew up in Roman Britain, somewhere along the western edge of the fading Roman Empire. His family was wealthy and educated. His father was a Christian deacon. His grandfather had been a priest. But Patrick later admitted something surprising. As a teenager, he didn't care much about religion. He lived a comfortable life until one night changed everything. Irish raiders attacked the coast. At the time, these raids were common. Villages were burned, people were captured, and many were taken across the sea to be sold as slaves. Patrick was among them. He was forced onto a ship and carried to Ireland. Just like that, his old life disappeared. He was 16 years old, and he was now a slave. But strangely, Patrick would later say this was the moment his life truly began. Patrick was sold to a local chieftain. His job was simple. He became a shepherd. Day after day, he watched sheep in the lonely Irish hills, in the rain, in the cold, often completely alone. 6 years passed. 6 years without freedom, without his family, without knowing if he would ever see home again. And during that time, something inside him slowly changed. The boy who once ignored religion began to pray, constantly. Patrick later wrote that he prayed dozens of times each day. Faith became his way to survive the isolation. And after 6 years of slavery, something unexpected happened. Patrick later claimed he had a dream. In the dream, a voice told him his escape was ready. So he ran. He escaped his master and walked nearly 300 kilometers to the coast. Eventually, he found a ship. At first, the sailors refused to take him, but somehow he convinced them. Patrick boarded the ship and left Ireland behind. After 6 long years, he was finally free. Most people would have spent the rest of their lives avoiding the place where they were enslaved. Patrick would eventually decide to go back. Years later, Patrick experienced another vision. This time, he saw the people of Ireland calling to him. The same island where he had once been enslaved, the place he had risked everything to escape. And Patrick made a decision that seemed impossible to understand. He returned. But this time, not as a slave. He returned as a missionary. Ireland in the 5th century was mostly pagan. Patrick traveled across the island preaching Christianity. According to legend, he used a small plant to explain the idea of the Trinity. A shamrock. 3 leaves, 1 plant. It became one of the most recognizable symbols of Ireland. But another legend about Patrick would become even more famous. According to tradition, Patrick drove all the snakes out of Ireland. The story says he chased them into the sea and banished them forever. But there's a problem with that story. Ireland never actually had snakes. After the last ice age, snakes simply never reached the island. So historians believe the story is symbolic. The snakes likely represented the old pagan beliefs Patrick was trying to replace. Whether myth or metaphor, Patrick died around the year 461. Over time, stories about him spread across Ireland. He became the patron saint of the country, and the day associated with him, March 17th, became a religious feast day. Centuries later, Irish immigrants carried that tradition across the world, especially to America. And there, the celebration transformed. What began as a quiet religious holiday became a global festival. Parades, green clothes, music, and crowded pubs. Today, St. Patrick's Day is celebrated in cities all over the world. But here's the strangest part of the story. The most famous saint in Ireland wasn't even Irish. He was a kidnapped teenager from Roman Britain, a slave who survived 6 years of isolation, and a man who chose to return to the very place where he had once been enslaved. And the island that once enslaved him would eventually call him its patron saint. A slave became a missionary. A missionary became a legend. And that legend became a holiday celebrated around the world. All because of one man, St. Patrick. But here's something to think about. If you had escaped slavery and finally made it home, would you ever return to the place that enslaved you? Tell me what you think in the comments.